Good afternoon. Welcome into the Fantasy Roundup. I'm your host, Spencer the Guru Urquhart. Alongside me, my co-host, Gabe Henderson. And we've got a packed show for y'all. You ready, Gabe?
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah, man. Glad to hear it because, we got a lot to talk about today. Week 11 waiver wire pickups. Still got some names out there for those needing solutions. And we're getting into the stretch run here of fantasy football. So we got a lot of waiver wire options out there for y'all, as well as trade candidates. I know there's a lot of trade deadlines came and went, but still a good amount of my leagues you can trade, week 11, the trade deadline in a lot of leagues. So we've got a lot of buy low, sell high candidates for y'all as well to get those to make those championship pushes.
Yeah, looking forward to it. A lot of interesting names popped up this week. Some changes that we'll get to in the breaking news and other segments. So it's an exciting week. It's a big week for all.
For sure. And then, make sure to shout out our sponsor, Caesars Sportsbook. Head on over to Caesars if you haven't already to get risk-free first bet up to $1,000 or get it back. Yeah, get it back as a bonus bet if it loses. So sign up there if you haven't already. And there he is, Hank Trill. Hank Trill checking in. Yeah, he's in first place in the Listener League. We'll have our Listener League update as well here after we get to our headlines. And we've got a lot of interesting headlines here today. Let's get to them. Michael Thomas suffers a fairly significant knee injury. I'm sure the dude that he had beef with on Friday night would say that was karma because he had been healthy all year and then suffers a knee injury this week. It's likely going to keep him out for a good while. So no surprise there. Michael Thomas, one of the most injury-prone players in football, gets hurt yet again. And it looks like Derek Carr, though, speaking of the Saints, Derek Carr looks like he'll be good to go for Week 12. Saints on bye this week. He's currently in concussion protocol, though, so I have to keep an eye on it, but should be good. And Dennis Allen said in the press conference that he's still the starter, that, Jameis may have had his chance, but he threw those picks at the end of the Vikings game, and there's a reason he's the backup. So Thomas, though, going to be out a while. A.T. Perry saw a lot of snaps in his absence. Could be a name to keep an eye on in deeper leagues. The Bills have fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, and they instead will promote Joe Brady, who is their quarterbacks coach. He'll now be their OC and play caller. Joe Brady, a name that LSU fans know and love. He was the quarterbacks coach in the 2019 championship team, helping coach up Joe Burrow to that historically good offense. Brady had his chance in the NFL at the Panthers. Didn't do much with it, but kind of got, which Gabe and I'll talk about here, it just seemed to me he kind of got shortchanged and then ends up in Buffalo, and now I'll have his chance to redeem himself as a play caller. So we'll have more on that in a bit. Jalen Warren named the Steelers starting running back over Najee Harris. This was a long overdue thing. I mean, Warren's been the better back all year. He's been getting more and more touches, so it makes sense that he's a starter now. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing from last year. It was just, you could see the handwriting on the wall, so no surprise here. Jalen Warren should be starting, and now will be, so excited to see what he can do moving forward. And Aaron Rodgers, the man keeps dreaming. He's eyeing a mid-December return from the torn Achilles that he suffered in September. So he's thinking he can be back in 3 months. I find that a bit of a stretch, but I guess if anyone can do it, it's Aaron Rodgers.
He's remained relatively consistent on it, so he knows his body better than anyone else. Might as well just hop along for the ride.
Yeah, we'll have more on that for the waiver segment. The quarterback room is so thin that Rodgers did make one of our lists, so stay tuned for that. But let's talk more about this Joe Brady thing, Gabe. He's now the OC, and it is an interesting move because it's not like the Bills' offense was horrible. This is funny. It's the second time now, I think, in 3 weeks that a Monday Night Football debacle has caused the coach to get fired. The Raiders' Monday night debacle caused Josh McDaniels to get fired. And then the Bills' Monday night debacle has now caused their OC Ken Dorsey to get shown the door. And now it gives Joe Brady an opportunity to call the plays. So I know you knew Brady well. You covered LSU there for a while. And so do you think that he's going to have success as the play caller in his second chance being in that role at the NFL level.
Put it this way, I think he's got a lot better shot here to succeed than he did in Carolina. Carolina, he was brought in. It was one of those moves for Matt Rule where he was just trying to save face, throwing anything in the wall at the wall to see if it stuck, and he just didn't have the tools to succeed. I will say this. I would imagine if Joe Brady hasn't changed his offensive mind, and keep in mind, a lot of people misremember it. Joe Brady wasn't LSU's OC during the 2019 run. He was an offensive analyst. It was actually someone else calling the plays, although Joe Brady did have a huge hand in that. I think we'll see the Bills get back to what they were last season. I think they'll throw the ball a lot more. Trying to run it just hasn't seemed like their thing. But, at the end of the day, it comes down to Josh Allen. He's been pretty poor this year, all things considered, when we're looking at him through the glass that he's been held to this high standard. He just doesn't look like the same player this year. He's turning the ball over a lot more. He's missing receivers a lot more. So I don't know. I think it could come down to the play of Josh Allen, but I think Joe Brady will give him more opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be probably a more balanced approach, probably more shorter passes. I remember with Joe Burrow, CEH was involved a lot in the short passing game. I think it'll be, not so much of this just like, let's just pepper Diggs, and then other than that, throw it up for grabs. Like, it's just the offense didn't seem to have much rhythm to it. And with Josh Allen, it's been great for fantasy because he gets enough explosive plays.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with Joe Brady, he might be even better because, like, whenever things were rolling with Dable, when Dable was calling the plays, I mean, now that Dable's doesn't have Josh Allen, they're seeing when he's getting exposed. But if you have a talent like Josh Allen, like, you got no excuse. Like, that's why they fired Ken Dorsey, because they feel like we've got this elite quarterback and our offense is consistently just struggling, turning the ball over. I mean, moving the ball is all well and good, but if you can't hold on to the football, what good is that? I mean, you're just giving it up. You're letting teams like Denver, I know they've been better lately, but Denver should not have won that football game last night. When you've got Josh Allen under center, you should not be getting consistently embarrassed. Like, even in they win these games lately, they haven't been impressive. The Bills haven't played a complete football game since I believe it was week 4. And they had that run. I think they beat Miami and they were 3-1. And it was like, okay, yeah, the Bills, they're not going anywhere. But the past 6 weeks, they have been, I believe they've been 2-4, maybe even 1-5. Not a good record at all. I think 2-3 because they're 5-5 on the season. I don't know. My math's probably off. I don't have the schedule in front of me. But my point is that their offense was kind of going not in the right direction. So I'm thinking Brady will at least get it steady. I'm not saying I don't think he's quite the offensive genius we thought he was out of LSU. Because like you said, Gabe, I believe it was Steve Ensminger calling the plays. So, I mean, Brady played a part, but it wasn't like all his offense. I mean, he was part of it, but he had a bunch of talent and, I mean, didn't have to call the plays. So this will be a good chance for him to see what he can do. Because he was someone, a lot of people thought, he could end up being a head coach one day. But he had he's still very young, clearly wasn't ready for all of that. But now I think he's got a good chance to get this ship turned around. And I think overall it's good for Josh Allen. He might not have quite as many splash plays, but I think it's good for him. I think it's good for, like, Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir. I would think they'll get them going. And James Cook should be seeing more screens. I would think they'll tell Josh, look, you got to get the running back more involved. You've got to spread it around more. I mean, Diggs, they basically took Diggs. I mean, Surtain was locked up Diggs last night. If Diggs is locked up, which the teams, unless the Bills adjust, the teams are going to start double, triple, and Diggs and forcing someone else to beat them. And the fact is they don't really have anyone else. So I guess to wrap this up here for me, I'll let you get to your final thoughts, Gabe. But I think this will be good for moving forward. Like, I don't know if it'll, as far as Allen himself, I don't see this being a big help or a hurt. But I think for the rest of the Bills, outside of Diggs, I think this could maybe hurt Diggs a little bit because He probably won't get peppered quite as much, but I think this maybe Gabe Davis could be a little more consistent. I think Kincaid will still be good, and James Cook should be solid as well.
I agree in the sense that I think it's good for Josh Allen. It can really only be good based on what we've seen so far. I'm going to try not to break my arm patting myself on the back here, Spencer. But I mean, I saw this coming preseason. Let's be honest. Gabe Davis is not a wide receiver 2 in the NFL. So you say that you don't think they'll pepper Diggs. They might not as much anymore, but if they don't, I don't think they succeed as much because Diggs is, we can talk about Shakir. We can talk about Gabe Davis. Kincaid's been good. But other than Stephon Diggs, they really don't have that solid, reliable option in the passing game. And I think Buffalo is to blame for that. I think they really should have done more on the offensive side of the ball to help him in the offseason. But, overall, I largely agree with you. I think this is going to be a positive move. And I think Josh Allen can only get better.
For sure. I mean, they did get Kincaid. I mean, Kincaid's
Yeah.
essentially another receiver, so can't really blame like their personnel too much. To me, it was more the coaching, but now that they made the change, it should be better moving forward. And looks like we're already getting some questions here, so we'll do our listener league recap here, and then we'll move the Q&A segment up a little bit. And let's see, we got a
Can
lot
I
of
just say one
people in
more thing,
here.
Spencer?
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as the NFL goes, and this is how wild the NFL is, did you sit back last night and think this is a Buffalo team that beat Miami, who beat Denver 70-20, who just beat Buffalo? I mean, that doesn't happen in college football. We don't see Alabama losing to Vanderbilt, who loses to so-and-so, who beat so-and-so. I mean, it's insane, the parity in the NFL from week to week.
Yep, the old cliche, any given Sunday, reigns true every year, and it seems to get even crazier each year. A team being more and more balanced, but yeah, interesting to see how it ends up. So, listener league update here, week 10, Latino Heat. I saw he was in the building. Hank Trill with a big 172 burger, thanks to his Cowboys duo that I traded him. You're welcome, Hank. Dak Prescott and CD Lamb going off yet again. But luckily, I got back in the win column this week. Hank took down a Bucktown Rebel Jr. there by a wide margin. Gabe had a nice week, too. Almost had the highest total there. The Tua Infinity Squad didn't even need Tua and put up over 160 points. Took down the Bayou Bandits there. And then Uncle Big Nick, he's rolling right now. He got off to a bad start, but he's got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase cooking. Back to 500 there. Took down Amana Roll, Salmon. And then I got back in the win column here. Took down the Bucktown Rebel, our defending champion. He had kind of an off week. We're both 6-4. Both looking like on pace to make the playoffs. But the good thing for the listeners, I mean, it's like just got to finish the highest. I mean, me and Gabe aren't eligible for the prize. So, but last year, though, Bucktown Rebel won the league outright. So, these listeners, man, y'all know what y'all doing. Shout out to y'all. And then Mike is 6-4. He's looking to be in good shape. Took down Troy, who was really hurting there at 3-7. And then OSF got his second win of the year, eked it out by the skin of his teeth against Run CMC William, who's got to be kicking himself because, man, that was he would have 6-4 would be looking a lot better than 5-5. But man, that was quite the week, Gabe. Once again, these listener league matchups tend to be really tight.
Yeah, it's really fun. I thought surely before I looked at the scoreboard, I would have had the highest score of the week, but shout out Latino Heat continues to roll.
For sure. And so yeah, shout out to all the listeners in the league. They've been killing it. And for those that aren't in the league, we might have some open spots next year. So stay tuned and we'll have more on that for those that want in. But let's get to our questions here. Got a couple we'll answer before we get to our waiver wire segment. One from Bronson. Trade Waddle and Tank Dell for Diggs. I know I was a little down on Diggs with this move, but I probably still would, assuming you don't need Tank Dell as a starter. If Tank Dell's on your bench, if you're getting an upgrade from Waddle to Diggs, I'd do that.
I agree.
Yeah, that one seems pretty straightforward, unless it's like a deeper league where Tank Dell's one of your starters. But then we've got one from Rust Maniac. I got like 4 running backs. Which one should I trade? McCaffrey, Barkley, Walker, A-Chain. I need wide receiver help. Currently got Godwin, Higgins, and Waddle. Okay, yeah, you definitely need receiver help. I would say, well, I wouldn't trade CMC. You got to keep him, I feel like. I'd say in an A-Chain, I'd hold him because, I mean, he's been hurt. You probably wouldn't get fair value for him right now. I'd say either Walker or Barkley. Probably Walker because I feel like people are going to be like, ugh, Barkley, the Giants. But they're going to be getting Tyrod Taylor back in a couple weeks. And he's a hell of a lot better than Danny DeVito's son. That's why I was like a Tommy DeVito. That guy is, whew, yeah. And, but yeah, I would recommend trading Kenneth Walker, because with Zach Charbonnet, he's continuing to be involved a little bit. So I'm not saying Walker's going to fall off completely, but I think he's probably the most vulnerable of these as far as getting his workload taken. So that's who I'd recommend moving.
Yeah, I would also go with Kenneth Walker. I think he's been too touchdown dependent this season. And the Seahawks, you never know what you're going to get out of him. There were a few weeks ago, he was averaging almost 8 yards a carry, and he only got like 5 touches because the Seahawks, for some reason, want to put the ball in Geno Smith's hands to try and win them games. I think Barkley's going to get his, and like Spencer said, the value might not be there in terms of other people's eyes, given that he plays for the Giants. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, you never want to let him go. And I think Achane is going to come back and do work, as I'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. So that was our Q&A here. I mean, like, what wide receivers have trade value for Walker? I would say some pretty good ones. I mean, like I say, like a Garrett Wilson's probably similar.
Chris Olave?
Yeah, Olave. Yeah. I don't know if I'd do it for Olave. Well, I mean, Thomas is hurt now, so that kind of helps Olave. He should get more targets. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else could be in that mix. Yeah, Olave, Garrett Wilson. Those are just ones that come to mind. Yeah, maybe Adam Thielen. I don't know. I just the Panthers are gross.
I know they are, but I'm trying to think value in terms of this season.
Yeah, I hear you.
It really just depends.
You'll just really have to go down the list, bro. They've got a Devontae Smith. He's the clear second fiddle to AJ Brown. Scary Terry can be kind of hit or miss. I mean, because then like Amon-Ra, doubt they'd come off of him. He's too good. It's tough. I mean, to me, Garrett Wilson's a good one, though, because at least with Garrett Wilson, I mean, he's not in a great offense, but Zach Wilson peppers Garrett Wilson, because that's like all they got over there. So maybe Cooper Kupp, I had recommended to buy Cooper Kupp below last week, so he could be an option there. Also got Ingram and Kincaid, but want to trade Ingram. Don't know what to get for him. I don't know. I'd almost just recommend keeping them. I don't think you'd really get much for Ingram. You're not going to really get a good receiver.
I would hold on to Ingram, especially because if Knox comes back, Kincaid might see his role dwindle again. When you have 2 tight ends who are good, you want to hold on to them.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a thin position, so keep your depth, man. So all right, we'll kick this thing off with Gabe's waivers for this week. I see he's got some spicy names in here. One of them, the running back, was one that I had my eye on, but good catch there, Ty Chandler. So, but we'll start with your quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. The man says he's going to play again 3 months after an Achilles. Seems insane to me, but maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, here's the thing, Spencer. I've had my eye on Aaron Rodgers for a few weeks, especially in leagues where you can pick up straight from the waivers, put him on IR for the leagues that have IR spots. Aaron Rodgers, when we get to this point of the season, we're really focusing on who's going to be playing in weeks 17, 18. Stars that could really get you points and potentially win you leagues. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys. If he's eyeing a mid-December comeback, the Jets are still going to have some work to do if they want to make the playoffs. They're going to have an uphill battle, and I think Rodgers is going to be playing in those. I don't know how healthy he'll be, but, when your options are guys on the waiver wire, I think Aaron Rodgers is better than any of them by far. So I think he's a decent flyer. If you're really trying to pick someone up who could potentially win you a league, and if you can just stash him. Most bye weeks, I'd say, are over by now, so people aren't really worrying about quarterbacks to play temporarily. So I think if you can afford to stash Rodgers, it's definitely worth it.
I see your point. I just, man, the Jets have been so bad lately. I have a feeling they're not even going to be, it's not even going to matter in mid-December. I mean, if you have the space, though, I could see stashing him. If you have the IR space, then go ahead. But I definitely wouldn't keep him on one of my actual roster spots. IR, okay. But other than that, I'm just like, for one, we don't even know how healthy he'll be. Probably won't be 100%. And then also the team is starting to fall apart. So yeah, just a stash play, I feel like.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, my thinking here is there are not many great quarterbacks. Well, actually, there's no great quarterbacks left unless Josh Dobbs is available in your league. There's no one even worth really considering that's owned in under 30% of leagues. So that's I wouldn't risk anything for it. I would stash him on IR, and that's about it.
Yeah, I got for one for y'all for those in really deep leagues. We'll get to that here in a minute. Ty Chandler.
Yeah,
You can
Ty
laugh,
Chandler.
but I mean deeper leagues, But yeah, Ty Chandler I really like because Madison's got a concussion.
Yeah, Madison's got a concussion, and Ty Chandler really seized the opportunity last week. He's a young guy that we've kept our eye on all season. I think you and I might have even talked about him preseason as someone who could make noise here in this backfield, and he's finally getting his chance. And here's the thing about the NFL, Spencer, it's not fair for everyone. Sometimes you get injured and you might never get your spot back. Madison has done nothing this season to really put confidence in the decision makers in the Vikings organization. If Ty Chandler can have another week to build on last week, he could be the starting running back for them going forward. And, this is a potentially playoff making team. So they're going to be in the hunt. I think Chandler's going to be a big part of that offense next week and going forward as well.
Yeah, agreed, man, because he's someone that if he can seize this opportunity, then yeah, he'll probably take over as a starter. Madison has not been efficient this season, plain and simple. And I mean, Edmund is terrible for fantasy because of volume. But from the Vikings standpoint, you want someone with more explosiveness. I mean, that's why they traded for Cam Akers, but he's donezo now. He's out for the year. So Ty Chandler, this is his chance. And yeah, to me, it's worth picking him up because he's got everything in front of him. If he can seize control of the backfield this week, I think he seizes it for the rest of the way. And so I see you got Demario Douglas at receiver, Rust Maniac. Yeah, Noah Brown is one that I'll actually, spoiler alert, he's my receiver recommendation. We'll get to that in a bit. But Gabe's got Demario Douglas, who also feel like a good option.
Yeah, he was a name that a lot of people kept an eye on with injuries at the receiver position in New England over the last few weeks, and he's taken to his new role well. They've involved him. I know the New England offense isn't a sexy one, but he's put up two solid performances in back-to-back weeks, so you might as well ride the wave.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, even though the offense around him stinks, he's the clear go-to guy. Devontae Parker could be back. He had a bad concussion. He could be back. That could kind of throw it off. But I still think Douglas will have a solid role there. But, I mean, I see he double-dipped with the Patriots. That's a little bold, I feel like. But tell us why you like Hunter Henry.
Well, here's the thing, Spencer. It's the same with the quarterback position. There's not a lot out there that we haven't already dissected at the tight end position. Hunter Henry's actually been decent this year. And here's the thing. I don't know who the hell is going to start at the quarterback position for the Patriots going forward. I don't know if it's Mac Jones. I don't know if it's Bailey Zappi. I don't know if it's someone else. And here's the thing with all of them. With struggling quarterbacks, with young quarterbacks, they all love their tight ends. So I figured, the New England Patriots are going to be losing in a lot of games. They're not going to be leaning on their running game. As good as Zeke's been in recent weeks, Ramondre enjoyed a bit of a resurgence one week. I think it's going to be Hunter Henry that's going to benefit the most from this position that they're in.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting take. I mean, yeah, it might end up Bailey Zappi because they didn't, and they named Mac Jones a starter. So, yeah, it's just, whoever it is will probably feature the tight end. They still got Gesicki there, but, yeah, Henry been the more consistent guy. So, yeah, I could see it in deeper formats. But here's mine here. All right, y'all. Y'all can laugh at me all y'all want, but Aiden O'Connell, the savior at quarterback this week for deeper leagues. Let me clarify. Don't go drop in some good quarterback for O'Connell in your 10 or 12 man league. If you're doing one of these 14 or 16 team leagues, or if you're in a super flex league where you got to start 2 quarterbacks, you don't have to start 2, but it's highly recommended you start 2. O'Connell's an option. I mean, he's got a solid rapport with Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is happy again. He seems reignited over there. Antonio Pierce, the interim head coach, has brought a new life to the Raiders, and they seem to believe in this O'Connell kid. I'm not saying he's a franchise quarterback, but he seems like the kind of guy that's just, he's here, he's holding down the fort for now. He's not going anywhere. It's not like they're turning back to Jimmy G. So he's got a decent matchup this week. Is another thing. Like if you're in a pinch, if you got some quarterbacks injured or on a bye week and you're in your super flex league, don't be afraid to throw O'Connell in there. I believe they got the Dolphins, so probably a game where they're going to be chasing points. And so, he's going to be peppering Devontae Adams. And I know it's not pretty, Gabe, but I mean, hey, we gotta give the people somebody.
It's about as ugly as AOC's mustache.
Hey, man, don't hate on the stash. He's 2-0. He's 2-0 with it.
2-0 with 2 of the worst performances on offense I've seen. He's literally just riding the coattails of Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. But you know what? If it works in fantasy, it works in fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, the past 2 weeks, they didn't really have to do much. I mean, like that Jets game. I mean, you could have put me or you back there at quarterback, and they still may have won. But, I mean, O'Connell, though, he might be forced to do a little more this week, so we'll see. But my running back, Keaton Mitchell, deja vu, had him here last week. And come on, y'all, wake up. This Keaton Mitchell dude's super talented, and he didn't get as many touches as I was hoping, but on the few touches he did get, he was explosive with them. And John Harbaugh this week said, we need to get this kid more involved. He's a really good playmaker. And I think they will. He was more involved than Justice Hill. So he's at least now number 2 on the depth chart. Now the key will be, can he leapfrog Gus Bus? And I think there's a good chance he does here within the next week or 2. I mean, Gus Bus isn't very good. The only reason he's fantasy relevant is because he gets touchdowns. I mean, that Ravens offense is explosive. They get Cincy this week on Thursday night. So I think this could be another big week for Keaton Mitchell. He had the big week, week 9 and week 10. He was not as good, but still, showed explosion. And I think he'll do so again this week. So get him now before he becomes a household name.
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell was on my radar for a sell high candidate. He's someone that we ultimately decided wasn't available in enough, or he was available in too many leagues to be put on that list. I like Keaton Mitchell as a waiver wire pickup, but if you've got him, I think you should sell high on him just because he's not getting the touches. He's been explosive, but really his performance outside of the touchdown last week wasn't great. So I'm still not sold. I mean, he's super talented. I've had my eye on him for a while, but until he starts getting touches, I really don't think he's worth keeping on a roster per se, unless you want to stash him for a potential playoff run.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I think a little higher of him because I think he's gonna start getting more touches, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, if he does, he'll definitely be worth it. He's got the talent. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got Noah Brown, who's another player you weren't that high on, Gabe. Which I was surprised about, being that you're a Texan fan. But I'll give my thoughts on Brown, and you can have your rebuttal if you'd like. But I just think Noah Brown's a good play because he seems to be the most explosive weapon for C.J. Stroud. I know Tank Dell's had his moments, and Nico Collins, and a lot of his Brown's big week this week probably had to do with Collins being out. But I think Brown's the 3rd best receiver on this team. I mean, I think he showed that he's better than Robert Woods. Robert Woods, I know he had a pretty good start to the season, but it seems like lately he's just been just either hurt or just not very good. But I just feel like Brown's someone that's is got it in good with C.J. Stroud right now. And the way C.J. Stroud's playing, I want weapons attached to him. And if Brown keeps this up, he's the big play guy over there, and he's been more consistent lately. But I know you're the Texans guy, Gabe. Do you see this continuing, or do you think this is kind of a mirage?
It's tough to say. The reason I had him on my short list for sell high, Spencer, it's not that I don't like him. It's for exactly what you listed a second ago. It's the fact that Nico Collins is coming back soon, and I don't know if you'll see that production. So if you can look at Noah Brown's last 2 weeks and get someone to bite on a potential big name for trade, absolutely do it. If Noah Brown is still on waivers, absolutely pull the trigger and add him to your team because you're right. Robert Woods was CJ Stroud's go-to guy early in the season, but his injury, it coupled with Noah Brown coming back, really led to that relationship between Stroud and Brown to blossom. And he looks like the number 2 guy, maybe number 3 guy, depending on how you feel about Tank Dell's role. But yeah, I mean, I think it's Nico Collins is the number 1 threat when he's healthy. That's been the case all season. But Noah Brown's definitely got a role to play in this offense, as he's shown.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you can trade him, this might be a good time to. But yeah, waivers, if he's still on your league's waiver wire like he is in most leagues there, then yeah, go ahead and pick him up, and then maybe look to trade him after. But tight end here, Chigo Conku, nothing sexy, but it's just that the position is what it is. So Chigo Conku, I feel like someone that's been getting more targets lately from Will Levis. Ever since Will Levis took over, Okonkwo has been a little bit more involved, and so it's one of those things. He hadn't blown up yet. I think a blow-up game could be coming up soon, maybe even this week. Jacksonville not very strong against defending, against the tight end position. So I'm thinking Okonkwo, just a dart throw. I'm not saying to like go rush to get him, but if you're in a rough position there, as you have a tight end on bye, or you're the Goddard person that's just kind of hurting at that position, and to me Okonkwo is a solid speculative option.
Yeah, for the same reason as I talked about a little bit ago. Young quarterback in these positions, you want to add their tight ends.
Yeah, because Levis, I mean, Hopkins had that huge week, but lately it's just been like, he's getting exposed. He is what he is. So I think the Okonkwo, that actually helps him, being that he now has a rookie tight end to work with. So we'll answer a couple more questions here before we get to the trade segment. I think we had a couple more from Russ Maniac, who's been our most involved listener today. Shout out to him. With me needing wide receiver help, what you think I should pick up from waiver? We got to that one already. And this was the one. Do you think Ty Chandler does better than Walker this week? Vikings play Broncos. Seahawks play Rams. No, bro, I'd still play Walker. Broncos have been a lot better on defense lately. Rams, that's a team that's trending down.
Yep, I completely agree with you on that. I mean, I think that one's pretty simple. I think Kenneth Walker can find the end zone against LA. And, as we mentioned, I think Ty Chandler will do decently well, but the Broncos have been really, really good defensively recently.
Yeah. Give me KW there. He's still a must start, even though he's kind of touchdown dependent. But I mean, that's a good offense. I think he'll keep the run going.
He got a receiving touchdown last week, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, he's involved all over. I mean, he's a good weapon. So, yep. So let's get to our trade candidates here. I'll start it off. My buy low candidate, Marquise Hollywood Brown, y'all. Kyler Murray is back. And I think it's a good thing that Brown didn't do good this week, because then everyone would be like, oh, look, Kyler Murray and Hollywood. They're back. They're ready. Everyone would be all like hyping him up. But because he didn't do well, people are probably going to be more on the side of, Hollywood, they're rusty. They don't have a chemistry anymore. So this is the time to take advantage of that, buy low on Hollywood Brown, because he was putting up numbers even with Josh Dobbs, who, Dobbs is a decent QB, but I still think him and Kyler, that's a really good connection. They showed it last season early on when Hop was out, Hollywood was eating. And I think once they get their chemistry back, which I don't think it'll take them long, they've worked together dating back to their Oklahoma days. So I'm thinking that Hollywood Brown, a great buy low right now, as well as James Conner. I feel like the Cardinals in general are good buy lows, because with Kyler there, Kyler, it's kind of like Josh Allen. He makes a lot of mistakes, not that great for real life, but for fantasy, we love him.
Yeah, you're just basically echoing what I said last week with Rondale Moore, but with a better receiver. Rondale Moore is another guy who benefited, but if you can get Hollywood Brown for a low price, go get him, because Kyler Murray looked good the other day.
Yep, for sure, for sure. And then I got a sell high here. Brian Robinson, y'all. I would sell on B Rob. Antonio Gibson's been more involved lately in B Rob. The only reason he had that great week last week because he had over 100 receiving yards, a clear outlier. He is normally not involved much as a receiver, so he hadn't really showed much improvement as a runner. And I know he's been overall pretty good on the season. I'm not saying to dump him, but I definitely wouldn't count on him being an RB1 down the stretch. So if someone's willing to pay premium for him after his big week, I'd sell.
Yep, I agree. And that, as much as that pains me to say as a Brian Robinson owner, we have seen Antonio Gibson get more involved recently.
Yep. So you got Devin Singletary buy low. He was the workhorse last week, so I'm guessing you think he's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's been on the fence all season. The Texans have been about who their starting running back is going to be. But I think after last week's performance, you have no option but to start Singletary going forward. I know he's on a 1-year deal. I know Pierce is the guy that was really good last year for him. I think Pierce will come back this week. But, I think Singletary is going to be the guy. And as you mentioned, Spencer, you want the weapons in the Texans offense. Everyone's going to be worrying about C.J. Stroud's arm. But Devin Singletary quietly put up a 100-yard performance last weekend, and I think he's only going to continue to get better.
Heard that. Yeah, I just, his history, I mean, with the Bills, he had chances to be a workhorse, didn't really take advantage of them. But maybe with the Texans, a C.J. Stroud team not really focused on the run, it could allow Singletary to do well. And like we said with Ty Chandler and Madison, it's like Madison not very efficient. Pierce in that same boat. Pierce had his chance and just wasn't very efficient. So if Singletary keeps eating, he'll probably keep the job.
Yeah, Bobby Slowick's zone running scheme has really not helped Dameon Pierce this year, and Singletary's taken to it really well. So that's why I think he's a good buy low candidate here.
Mm-hmm. And he got Raheem Mostert, another one of those Shanahan zone run guys who's had a great year, but I think you're thinking that his stretch run might not be as good as his first half.
Yeah, not only that. I mean, we saw HN, what he was able to do when Raheem Mostert was when they were both playing together. Raheem Mostert still got his, but HN comes back this week and he's the younger back, so I really think HN he'll not only take away touches, that's a guarantee, but I think he could work himself into a starting spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think A-Chain's a superior talent, and so he's the guy I'd rather have down the stretch. So yeah, try and trade Mostert if you can before A-Chain returns. So that's our buy low, sell high segment, y'all. Send out those trade offers. Trade deadline's coming up soon. So hope y'all got something out of that. So let's get our last few questions answered here. We got a few that came in late here from George and Josh. Shout out to them for tuning in here. Let's get Rust's last question answered, though. He had one more for us. How about Herbert coming off IR and Singletary? Well, we just touched on Singletary, so we'll skip that. But Herbert on IR, off IR, I think he'll be okay. But, I mean, it's the Bears. Roshan's going to be involved some. Foreman might still be involved. It's going to be an ugly committee. I wouldn't. I mean, you could have Herbert on your bench when he comes off IR, but I wouldn't count on him as a starting option.
No, I definitely wouldn't either. I've always been low on Khalil Herbert. I don't think any more of him this season. That backfield's too crowded, as you mentioned. No, he's not a starter for me. He's a good bench depth piece, but nothing.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely wouldn't start any of them over Walker. But yeah, we got a lot coming in late here. Josh, should you make any changes to this roster? 20-team PPR. Wow, shout out to you for. I don't play. Well, actually, I do. I play in a 32-man league, so I'm. we're both crazy, bro. So I'm right here with you. Let's see, 20-team PPR. Lamar, JT, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, Travis Kelce, and Christian Kirk. 5-5, fifth place in the division. Top 4 make the playoffs. Everyone had 6-4. Okay, well, yeah, you got a really nice team for 20-man league. How do you have all that? Oh, you're gonna be fine, bro. Your team is probably way more talented than anybody else in the league. But he said he's been super unlucky. But yeah, most points scored. Well, yeah, I would think so with that lineup. Keep getting super. I think it'll correct itself, bro. Don't even trip. You got a way better roster than a typical 20-man team.
Yeah, Aaron Jones has been playing well, so I think that'll help you recently.
Yeah, I actually got 2 Georges in here. We'll start with George Play 01. He said, hey guys, my starting QB is Tua and I have Fields on the bench. I also have that scenario in one of my leagues. Last week, because neither played, I picked up Purdy, but I don't need him. Should I trade Purdy and Dell for Pacheco? Probably. I mean, if you don't need Dell either.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, yeah, because I mean, the Texans, they have so many options. Like, it's hard to know who's going to do well. So, yeah, I'd probably do that.
Yeah, if you need running back depth and don't need receivers, absolutely.
Yeah, he's got Cup, Waddle, Olave, Deontay, JSN. Yeah, you don't need Tank Dell. That's a good trade. It's a good trade. Should I trade Kenneth Walker for Bijan, Gibbs, or Pollard in non-PPR? Definitely not for Pollard. I'm done with Pollard. He just, I mean, they scored 40-something points last week and he didn't do anything. I'm done with Pollard. He's a bust. Gibbs, non-PPR, probably not. Bijan, it's tempting, but I think I'd hold Walker because we all know how Arthur Smith's a cuckoo bird.
He's a fantasy football terrorist.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, to put it nicely. Yeah, or to put it bluntly, as Gabe said. Yeah, he's awful. So, I mean, I love Bijan, but it's just, I mean, I'd keep Walker, bro, especially since it's non-PPR. So, George Cook, 5-5, the 8th seed. What do I do with guys like Ayuk, Dell, Romeo Dobbs, and Hollywood? I need a clear-cut wide receiver, too. I mean, Ayuk's a 2 a lot of weeks, but, I mean, you could probably package, like, Dobbs and Dell for something okay. And then, I mean, Hollywood, I would hold him. I think Hollywood could end up a 2 down the stretch with Kyler. So maybe do a 2-for-1 with Dell and Dobbs. But, I mean, honestly, with Ayuk and Hollywood, you should be fine.
You might be able to find a sucker who would trade for Hollywood, Brown, Dobbs, and Dell for a wide receiver 1, so you get yourself 2 of those. But
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, cash in on that depth. And would you flex Javonte Williams going forward out of any of those guys outside of maybe Ayuk? I probably would. I mean, Javonte Williams has really been trending up. He seems to be the workhorse there now in Denver now that he's healthy.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't start him over Ayuk, but I think flexing him over the other guys is probably a smart call.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if Hollywood and Kyler get their stuff together like I'm thinking, I'd maybe go Hollywood over him. But I definitely would start him over Dell or Dobbs.
Yep.
Yeah, traded for everyone but JT. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you must be playing with some guys that are new because yeah, that's I don't know how you assembled that roster. That's I bet the other people in your league that know what they're doing are not too happy with you because that's yeah, your roster looks ridiculously loaded. But it just goes to show, I mean, he's had bad luck. You just never know what can happen in fantasy. Doesn't matter how loaded your team is. Would you do like Dobbs and Dell for Thielen? Oh, definitely. Yeah, that'd be a really good deal.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could get something like that, do that for sure.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, Thielen, even though the offense sucks, he's still at least a 2 because he's the clear-cut number 1 option. So, like, for fantasy, even if he's not really getting many touchdowns, he's getting enough yards and catches to be a solid asset in PPR. All right, one more. This will be our last one here from Russ. Should I trade Walker for Cup if I can get it? Were you a PPR, bro? If so, I'd say yeah. I mean, because you had running back depth. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, you were a CMC guy. Yeah, I'd do that.
Yep,
I'd do that. That'd be perfect. Yep.
Good call.
Yep. For sure. All right, y'all. Well, that's gonna do it here on the Fantasy Roundup. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. For Gabe Henderson, this has been Spencer the Guru Urquhart. We thank y'all once again, and we'll be back next Tuesday, same time, same channels. Make sure to subscribe to the Bayou Bets channel if you haven't already. So, thanks, y'all. We'll be back. Peace.